there's power in taking a photograph. There's power in being an artist.
It's the Phoenix Film Revival Podcast.
All right, we are back. Another episode of the Phoenix Film Revival Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Yanacone, and I have with me my lovely wife. You guys know her, Stacy. You should know her by now.
You should know me.
She's the other half of Phoenix Film Revival.
I am, yes. Hello, everybody.
And we have with us...
Oh, I am Danny Upshaw,
Yeah.
local person to Phoenix.
And
And I take photos sometimes.
you may know him as...
Unheard Harmony.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
Instagram. Awesome guy. We were like, hey, we gotta have him on.
I know, definitely. And Danny, you don't do a lot of film at all, or if any. I don't think you do any.
You know, film. I borrowed a film camera from a friend a few years ago, and I took it for a month, and I had 2 rolls of film, and that was the only time I ever shot with film. It was amazing. Yeah. I think it's true, like what everybody says, it slows you down and makes you a better photographer, just because, you know, you only have so many shots on a film roll. You can't just like, you know, put it on burst mode and hope for the best.
Exactly.
The spray and pray does not work with film.
Oh, that's good. Never heard that. Spray and pray.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how I'm at the urinal.
Most guys are.
Well, you've shot films, so that makes you a film photographer.
You're in. But no, generally speaking, like if anyone's listened to our podcast, you know, like we're talking about the photographers, not necessarily the gear. And like, you know,
Yeah.
we want to know more about like why people take photos more than what they're shooting with. So honestly, you know, photographer, that lumps in there. And then everybody, you know, we were saying Phoenix. Everybody in Phoenix, I feel like, knows who you are, Danny. Like,
Yep.
anyone I ever talk to, like, I mean, Phoenix is one of those places where it's kind of a small place where everybody seems to know everybody, and you kind of go anywhere and you're like, yeah, I know that person, and everybody's sort of connected, but you're a little bit everywhere. I think, like, most events, for some reason, I'm like, hey, there's Danny.
Yeah, I think how that started was, I think, you know, starting up. So let me start from the creativity part.
Yeah,
I would
go
say
for it.
I started out doing a lot of design work and just kind of got really involved with that community. And whenever I'm at these communities, I'm like, oh, it'd be cool if I just took photos. And that's how I kind of engage people when I'm not ready to speak. I can just like take their photo, and that's, you know, just put me to work, and I'll like get out there, and like that's how you socialize.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It's
And
a
then,
good way to do it.
you know, once you meet one person in like one creative field, and you kind of meet the next person,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Yep.
kind of just spreads. So I don't know. I don't know if it's like I guess that's kind of naturally how it happens. You just kinda-
Yep. I think I met you originally in like 2000, maybe 2001. Maybe it was pandemic for sure, on a bike ride, I think.
2001. That's a
Yeah.
while
Or
ago.
not so
missed that
21.
pandemic. I don't
think you were
Jesus.
here.
I'm not going back that
Oh, it's
far.
Y2K. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Y2K pandemic.
Yeah.
2020.
Yes,
all
20. I
behind
think it
us.
was 2020 or 21. Yeah, there was the bike ride group. It was a photography bike ride group. I think that's when I first met you.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's been a while.
Photography and cycling are kind of 2 passions of mine. I think one is like transportation to find the photography spots. And I think that's why they mix so well together.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's how those, and I don't know, was it probably one of the Rogers ride? Maybe?
It was Roger. Yeah, Roger, which
Yeah.
he's
Photo cruisers.
he's been getting into the pool game recently. So he's like hasn't done a lot of photography because he's been playing pool like crazy.
Oh, he's gambling. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So he's been doing that. So he hasn't really been having any of the bike rides. But I'd love to see someone else pick that back up.
Yeah, shout out to Roger. We miss you.
We
Please
do
come
miss
back.
you.
and-
I know. Yeah. We'll see
So
you,
we
Roger.
had a photo ride years ago too, before that, with a bike shop downtown called the Velo. Actually, I'm wearing their shirt right now. The Velo.
Oh, yeah.
The Velo used to be right in downtown, right by the Churchill. And we did a photo ride with, I don't know if you guys ever knew Bicycle Nomad.
Yeah, I'm familiar with him.
So we used to have a photo ride that happened every other Sunday, or once a month on a Sunday. Just cruise around downtown, just take people around spots that we would go to.
Oh,
Like
that's
parking
awesome.
garages, alleys, you know, just seeing the city.
Yeah.
That's
that was
It's a
pretty fun.
chill cruise.
Yeah. I liked to ride around in the pandemic. It was fun because there was like nobody out. Everything was just like open. I just remember like just being on the street and not a car in sight.
Don't have to contend with traffic.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just kind of a nice open way. And like Phoenix has kind of picked up the last couple of years. Even the summers, like we used to have I don't know why, but the traffic hasn't left. I guess the population just changed. And now even the summer, it's busy now. Even we don't get a reprieve from the traffic even in the summer right now. So it seems
Yeah,
to be.
you would think people would want to stay out of the heat, but yeah, they're like they're out there, they're traveling, they're doing stuff.
They're absolutely out there, no joke.
Yeah, and you rode over here on your bike.
Yeah, luckily I'm not too far,
He's not too
but
far.
I do ride to work sometimes. Last
Yeah.
week I rode my e-bike because I work in Tempe near the Tempe Center for the Arts.
Okay.
That's about 11 miles, and I took my e-bike that day. The way there was fine. The way back, man, I was cooking. Like it felt like a blow dryer on my face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to say
But-
that's an aggressive
brutal.
ride. Well, at least it's an e-bike, so you don't have to like.
Yeah,
you know,
it was less. Yeah, it was definitely a lot easier, but still.
Yeah, 11 miles is kind of rough. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
So your day job, that's creative as well, right?
Yeah, so I work for a local design agency, and we it's like everything: web design, branding, media buying. But the guy who started it, he started it 10 years ago, and he hit me up because I used to work with him at other agencies before that. He was like, "Hey, I'm starting this new agency. You want to be their first employee?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll join you." And luckily, around that time, I got let go from my job.
Yeah.
Was kind of floating for a little bit while he got things set up, and yeah, it was just him and I for the first couple of years, and now
Wow.
10 years later, we're still kicking.
Oh, awesome.
So I do video shooting, like motion graphics, editing, and photography for them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice. It's always nice to have that.
Yeah, it's very versatile.
Yeah.
A very diverse group of skills that you have. So
yeah, I
that's
think
awesome.
it kind of like started off with one thing and it kind of just led to the next, and I think it's found the thing that I like, so it kind of
Good.
just stuck with it.
That's awesome.
That's really awesome. Yeah, Dan's kind of fortunate in that too. His day job is
Yeah, I work with graphics and photographers and commercial work, so
Yeah,
I've enjoyed that.
Do you know Andrea and
Yeah, Andrea Tab.
Aaron?
Yeah, Andrea,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, those are good friends too.
Yeah, they've Andrea moved to a different job, but she used to be our graphic designer there, and then I still work with Aaron. So
Nice. Yeah.
but yeah, graphic design, I don't know, it's enjoyable too, especially with photography. It's very like it's just one thing kind of, but but if you start getting into like audio and visual and web design and stuff like that, there's just kind of branch out. There's different things you could do. So
Well, it's interesting. I feel like they all complement each other too, because I started off
Yeah.
doing design, and the way I look at design, I kind of how I look at photography. You kind of always have to look for a center point, or not a center point, but a point of interest. The same thing with design.
Yeah.
And you kind of have all your like layered things underneath.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. It kind of goes hand in hand. A lot of the photography I do nowadays is for clients, and the way I compose shots is thinking about a designer putting graphics or something into photo. It's kind of funny how that like complements, but it's the same rules as like how photographers approach photography in general.
yeah.
Rule of thirds, just basic stuff like that. That's how a lot
Yeah.
of designers approach it too.
Well, I appreciate that because there's a lot of people that we get work from that's, it's like, why is it like this? It would have been better if you like had a consideration for this, but there's text has to go here, and it's not going to look right. But
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
It's
awesome.
funny. You have to now you have to shoot for portrait and landscape because social media is a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to shoot for those landscape or those, portrait Instagram style photos.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
It's got to be frustrating doing work for other people because you have to do it within their boundaries and not your own. I've never done any commercial shooting or anything, but does it feel weirdly limiting to your creativity sometimes, or do you feel like you have a lot more?
You know
right?
what?
You're
I think
still okay?
for work, like my day job, I think I think it's fine because I think there's a set rules that I just abide by for all the clients, and that way it's like foolproof. And a lot of times you don't get enough time to like conceptually think about anything, so you kind of just got to produce. So
Yeah.
it's usually set by a bunch of safe rules. You can't really be too risky sometimes, especially if the due date's like a few days or from now, because then they have to like produce the images, give it to the
Yeah.
designer, then they have to get it approved by clients. So a lot of times you don't have a lot of time to actually do anything too creative. I mean, it's still creative, but you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's
Yeah.
More of a technical versus
yeah.
You
draw
approach it
something.
at more technical.
But on the other side of that too, I do a lot of like side freelance work, and a lot of that stuff I can just do whatever I want just because it's fun and people hire me because I kind of developed a style, I guess,
Yeah, absolutely.
or
Yeah.
they come to me because I know that I can produce a certain look that's like
Yeah.
purely me. So, and it's kind of nice nowadays that there's not really an approval process anymore. It's kind of just, all right, here's your parameters. Cool. All right, sweet. Here's some images and here's some styles that I like. Here's some stuff I was experimenting with. And a lot of times I'll be upfront with them. Like, hey, I think I have an idea for this. If you're up for it, or like, yeah, cool. Do what you want.
Awesome. Well, it helps when you have like a portfolio and you have, consistent and clear imagery, and you have a style that's like obvious.
Yeah, it's
versus-
funny when you talk about portfolio though. I don't know if I have a website, but it's all old. It's out of date.
Yeah.
Instagram, it's not really a portfolio, but that's how you can see current work and like where my style is going.
Yeah, but your work
Yeah.
is so recognizable because like
Yeah.
I'll see your stuff pop up every once in a while and like I'll be like, that's Danny. Like immediately you'll see it.
Yeah.
I remember seeing like it was the cover of Phoenix magazine. I think you had a skateboarder in front of the Westward
Yeah.
Ho. I'm like, that's got to be Danny.
that
And I
was like-
looked it up and it
Oh,
was
man.
you.
That was a project that was purely they hit me up and they're like, hey, we got some. We need to cover a downtown vibe, and you're downtown. I'm like, oh yeah, and they're like, just here's your subjects and what we need. Just send us like 4 or 5 images of each of them, and maybe you'll get a cover. I don't know. It's kind of up to our editor. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. Send them
Yeah.
the photos, and they picked one. It was cool. Just pick friends who were around, that area and people I knew. Try to stay away from models.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, just find like just people
Yeah.
who, just close to me.
Yeah.
I thought had a good look, or who took direction well, or weren't afraid to be in front of the camera.
Yeah.
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 So it's kind of cool to have somebody trust you and like just let you run with it.
Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, I mean, your work is definitely recognizable. So I'd say you have a portfolio and I'm sure people recognize that. So that's why you're getting like, yeah, he knows what he's doing. Like they trust you.
Yeah.
I guess is what it is.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of downtown Phoenix. You seem to have a love affair with maybe the Westward Ho. I've seen a lot of really amazing photos from that. I think the last time we saw, did you have? No, you didn't. I don't think. I was thinking at the Brill Gallery, the monsoon show. You did not have the Westward Ho, but you do have some monsoony style photos of the Westward Ho
Yeah.
with like the lightning and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's I think that became an interest for my photography because like I was going back to design, like thinking about having like a subject or something to look at a photo. I got really into photography because I saw so I was getting into photography back when I was studying in school, and I had a job where they had a camera that they needed photos of their products. So I would take that camera every weekend, just mess with it. But what really set me on the path of photography, learning it, was I think it's July 11th, 2011, I believe.
Oh, I love it. There's an
Is-
exact date.
Yeah, that's the day that Michael Blinsky took a giant Haboob photo coming over Phoenix.
Oh, the one that's like the giant wall basically coming over.
It's like the most famous. It's like probably one of his most famous photos. And
Yeah.
if you guys
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know who Michael Blinsky is,
Oh,
look
I
him
know
up.
him.
He's an amazing storm photographer. He's great. Look him up. But he took this amazing photo, and I saw it like on the news or something the next day, because I was on my way to see my friend on the South Mountain, and on my drive up there, that's when I saw the thing come over the mountain. I was like, "What the heck is this thing?" I had to pull over because it was so dusty, I couldn't drive anymore.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Man, that was insane." I was telling my friend about it. We're talking about it, and the next day I saw it in the news. I'm like, "What?" Like I drove through that thing. And then saw Mike talking on the news too about the photo he took, and he did a time lapse. And man, I was like, man, I want to learn how to do that. So the whole next year, learned how to taught myself how to do a time lapse video, so I can be ready for next year for it to come around again.
Heck yeah. I didn't even know those that had a name until after he had shot it. I was like, that has a name? Haboo? Like, what?
Been here your whole life, like that's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did
That's a trip.
when the Brill Gallery opened. You had a time lapse on that.
Yeah. So it's funny. So the next year after that, after I saw that photo, I just got really into it. Like every day I saw, like I was looking on the radar, looking for storms.
Yeah.
So, okay. Getting back to the West Ho. So whenever I went out and photographed, like a lot of times the storms weren't great. They were terrible. It was just me sitting out there with the camera, like sweating, just mosquitoes biting me. So, but sometimes there'd be lightning in the background, like miles away. And I remember I was at a friend's balcony, and where they're just east of the West Ho, and I was looking west at the West Ho from their balcony. I was like, man, that's a great shot. So I took a shot of it with like lightning, like clouds behind it and everything. It's great. And after that, I was like, man, like when the storms are not great, like that's a great subject for monsoon photos. And that's kind of how that started. Like a terrible monsoon season turned into like a love affair with, photographing the West Ho. So that's where that came from. And that kind of became like what I got known for, I guess. It's just West Ho.
Yeah.
And then what was the other? We were talking about something else. Oh, Bro Gallery.
Yeah.
So yeah, all those photos amounted to like getting to know Mike, because Mike, he would be out all the time. There's like one specific parking garage downtown that I remember I was up there before him because I worked right near there. And I remember I just hear like screeching tires coming at this parking garage, and he pulls up, like jumps out, and he like sets up his camera, and he's like, I think it's almost here. And then his kids are running around with him, because he would like take his kids with him, like storm chasing. And that's when I got to know Mike.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. And like even now still, like if there's a really big storm coming in, and if I go up there, pretty sure he's going to be up there, either be up there already or on his way there.
Nice.
It's kind of funny. Nice. And then I got to know Andrew, and he hit me up and asked me to be a part of his first show when he had the drive-through gallery on Roosevelt.
Oh yeah, I love that place.
Yeah,
I miss it.
So that was my first time having a photo in a photo show, and then that closed down, and then years later, last year was the first one back. So it was kind of cool. He asked me to be a part of that. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah, that was a really great show. And all the photos were all monsoon related. So it was kind of fun talking to everybody that was at that show, because you're all in like the same boat. You see the storm coming, and everyone's like, storm's coming. Like, which I think a lot of people in Phoenix get excited, because it's like, yeah, finally, maybe some rain. Like, that's exciting. But you guys are like, I'm going out. I'm running. I'm like, our friend Tanisa is like that. Tanisa probably. Yep. Yeah. And Tanisa is like that. If she sees a storm coming, she's going out trying to see what she can catch. Yep. She's like, I'm out. I'm going to go get it.
I love her photos, because she's getting really into the West Ho photos too, and it's always fun to like see other people taking photos of it, because I've seen it like at all different angles, but still like it's fun to see other people like, I'm like, damn, I never seen, like, where the hell did they take that one from?
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, you get a fresh one. Are you miffed because of the big building that's being built there off Central, blocking it?
I think like kind of, but also the West Ho's getting a new friend, so
it's true. It is. It's gonna get us some shade,
get us in company.
That's
some morning shade.
I don't know how tall that building's gonna be. They're still
pretty tall,
still going at it. So I was like, that's taller than I thought it was gonna be. Every time I'm down there, I
feel good about having a whole set of photos from that angle that I don't know. I'm sure how many people have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have a few of them, and I'm like, well, that's gone.
Good luck trying to get that shot.
Yeah, we talked about that before. We were saying about Phoenix is one of those interesting places where things change so much. So, if you want to get a photo of something, you better grab it, because it's probably not going to be around.
Yeah, Stacy was featured in New Times once for her work.
I ended up on the cover of that. It was in the middle of the pandemic, so no one saw the issue.
Yeah, but the
Metro Center, when the Metro Center closed.
Yeah.
Because I had gone out and took pictures inside the mall, and it was pretty much dead inside the mall.
Oh, man.
And then they asked me if they could
use
my photos.
Cool.
And then I sent them a whole bunch of photos. Yeah. And they used like all of them.
That's amazing.
It was like 20 of them. And I saw the cover. I'm like, oh my God, that's my photo. And then I looked in the pages, and I'm like, that's my photos. And then the online one, they used a whole separate set of photos. I was like,
oh, that's all.
I was like, okay.
Stacey had her own little feature.
I know.
That's pretty cool.
She wasn't even expecting it.
But it was like literally the pandemic. It was like maybe April 2020. It was like one of those. Yeah, it was like early in that. I was like, nobody saw it.
Yeah, but now it's gone.
Funny. But now the Metro Center's gone.
Is it officially gone? It's still.
I think they started.
I think it's partially gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think they started bulldozing in order to get the light rail.
So, oh man, there's one photograph that I want to do there. or like a photo pace there that I want to do. There's a kinked rail on the northeast side of it that's skateboard famous.
Oh, okay.
So I hopefully that's not destroyed yet.
You might be in luck. I know they had that huge, was it last year? They had a huge get together, lowrider meetup there, cruise thing around the parking lot and stuff.
That's
but
cool.
yeah, times change things.
Yeah, stuff disappears like so quickly. And like, it's like, so now when I'm thinking, oh, I want to take a photo of that, I'm actually going to go do it, because there's been so many times where I said, oh, I'll get a photo of that, and then it's gone. Damn it, why didn't I get a photo of that?
It's crazy. Like that same thing has come up twice in another conversation with my partner, Sarah. She was like, oh, you should start getting shots of like empty parking lots or empty like lots around downtown, because those are going to be either gone or there's be a building right there, or even current buildings. Like it's everything's changing so much.
The textiles building that's off of 7th Ave, that's going to get either renovated or bulldozed and built up.
Where's that at?
It's just off of 7th Ave and like 7th Ave and Van Buren.
Yeah.
Just
it
north
has the
of
weird
that.
typeface. It's like the kerning's off. So it like
Yeah,
The curtains off.
333.
it's really annoying.
Is that why it's getting demolished?
Maybe
I'm
it
just
should.
kidding.
It should. It's just an abomination. Every time I look at the building, I'm like,
Supposedly
that
it's a
isn't-
pretty crazy building.
isn't right. Yeah, the
So,
inside's supposed to be amazing.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
got a really interesting
But the
architecture.
sign's really interesting. What's the sign say? It's
Millium Textiles?
Million. Yeah, but the way it's like spaced
Millim?
is like so messed up. And you're like, what? Like you can't tell what it actually says because of the way the kerning is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Danny would be like, no, it's got to go down.
Nope.
Bulldoze it.
But yeah, there's always like that. Like even here in the Melrose on 7th Ave, they had with the parrot, like beside where Curious Nature is, and they're redoing the buildings that are kind of between Curious Nature and the pharmacy. And that little section, there was like a TV repair sign that was there for ever and ever and ever. And that's gone. They took it down. It's like the sign's up, but there's like a peace sign thing up there because they're going to rebrand it. They're going to be new signs, but it's like a TV repair sign. Like, God, you don't see those every day.
No.
And like every time I see a phone booth, I'm like, it seems so cliche to like take a photo of it, but at the same time, I'm like, how often do you see those anymore? Like, so it's like kind of capturing stuff that's like
Yeah, totally.
just not going to be around or turn into an ugly condo.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. There's
Just
too many of those.
there's way too many of those. I know some other cities have problems with it, but generally speaking, Phoenix, like I always say, Phoenix is one of those cities. I've lived a lot of places, all East Coast. East Coast, you see a lot of pretty on the outside. Here, you see the pretty on the inside of everything. Everything here is like hidden away behind like this, pale, like khaki like box.
Everything's sun bleached here.
Yeah, everything's just like a khaki square, and
Yeah.
and then you have to kind of go into places to see kind of the beauty of them a lot of the time, especially in the city because everything looks kind of drab here. But that being said, there's a lot of history and there are some architectural gems here,
Yeah.
and our signage here is. I always point out the signage here in Phoenix is just outrageously good. Like comparatively to a lot of places, you just don't get the signage that we have here with like so many like homegrown signs and hand painted signs.
Mesa's got some cool stuff. I mean, a lot of their signage over in Mesa is pretty rad. The old hotels and stuff like that. Neon signs and
yeah, and
jazz.
it's like, how long is that going to last? You go out there on that whole row there in Mesa with all those old hotels. And even now, if you go out, I took pictures of some of those hotels like maybe 3 years ago and some of them are just gone now. Like they've taken out those little tiny hotels and motels and things like that are.
That's a cool like photo series to have. Yeah, that'd be a cool like set of photos
Hotels.
that nobody will ever see, or people who will remember but didn't. They won't remember unless you saw it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. It'll probably strike like a nerve, like a nostalgic nerve. Be like, oh yeah, I remember that. It's gone now. That's sad. You
Yeah.
forget how like important some of the things are until they're gone.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not much of a street photographer really, but I like decay kind of stuff. But I've been seeing more of the usefulness of like time when it comes to photography. And we talk about this. I think we've even talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
We do on our shooting on film workshop, we have a slideshow because a lot of people, especially the people that come into that workshop are younger kids. They, got a camera they inherited or something, or just found at the thrift store. They don't know a lot about photography and they've definitely never sat through a slideshow. even people my age, and I'm a Gen Xer, and even I really didn't have to sit through those, but they used to be the thing. You took the slide photo and you had to go and sit and look at the photos. But we do a slideshow, and the slides on the outside, if you just describe them, are like, oh, well, there's some couple birthday parties. There's some people visiting Washington, D.C. There's some people at the beach. There's some people in the mountains. There's some people in their living room. It all sounds very everyday and very boring. And people, I think, often want to like find the cool thing to take a photo of, or like, what's the hip thing, or like, and they're always searching for like the coolest thing to take a photo of, not realizing like the interesting things are actually the everyday stuff. Because when we watch like the slideshow, the pictures are amazing and they're moving. And you're like, wow, why are these so good? And you realize it's just the time separation that's made them so interesting. Because it's like, it's simple stuff, but the fashion's completely different. The hairstyles are completely different. The cars in the background are completely different because all that stuff phased away. And it's in this new phase of like what it looks like. So I always tell people, like, don't be afraid of like the everyday boring stuff, because you give that 30 years, that isn't going to be boring anymore. You could take a picture like out on the boring corner here, and it's going to look so different to you in years from now.
Yeah. I always find a lot of inspiration from a friend. Her name's Z. Do you know Z?
No.
I'm not familiar.
I don't think so.
She's known for a lot of street photography, and I always compliment her. I'm like, man, you make Phoenix look like, doesn't look like Phoenix in your photos. Like, they look amazing. Like, her perspective, her street photography, she's not afraid to like go up to people and take photos and like engage them. It's really cool. And she's like, her personality like kind of like, makes you want to like pose for the photos, which sometimes I'm like, I don't know how you get to people to do that.
Good luck in this day and age. Taking pictures.
That's a very special skill.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've gone a couple of times street walking with her, and like, it's really cool to see her like be quick, but also like very engaging to like the subject or like the time she spends. I think it's just, maybe it's just an experience thing too. I don't know. She's just like really good, has a good personality, but also knows like what she's looking for, what like what doesn't work out. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, it's fun to like be around other photographers.
Oh yeah,
and like seeing their perspective, especially like, I mean, I would say I'm somewhat of a street photographer, but she kind of like blew me away when I was like walking around with her. So like, whoa, that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to like be in the same interest field or like same type of photography, and then you kind of like get blown away by somebody's like doing it completely different. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because everybody is doing it very, very differently. Anytime we have a photo gathering or we have like people around and they talk about their photography or what inspires them or how they shoot, it's so interesting how a lot of people be doing the same thing but completely different, and like go about it just in a completely different approach to it, and they get different results.
Yeah, everybody has their own perspective on how to do it.
Yeah, I always like photo walks and things, and like even when we did the photo bike rides, because like people would post their photos after, be like, you saw something completely different than I did. Like you would you just see it through someone else's eyes completely. Like, huh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I don't think I could do street photography like that. I don't know. My personality is not.
No.
Like, I'm pretty outgoing, but it's hard for me to be like, hey, can I take your picture?
Yeah.
I just want to take a couple pictures.
Yeah, me too. I have to be kind of sneaky, or like there has to be some sort of like, something to prompt me to like talk to them and like ask them. Yeah. Like, and that's pretty rare. I don't know. I'm not like, if I'm on the light rail, like I don't really engage with anybody. But if somebody talks to me, I'll be like, oh yeah, like start talking to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll never be the one to do that.
It's like you have to have the personality, and you have to put out that energy that's like inviting, but like neutral, like it's totally chill. I'm just gonna take a picture.
I think neutrally, I don't put out the vibe that I want to be engaged. But I mean, I think I do. But I think if you saw me, you're like, oh, that guy doesn't want to be messed with.
Yeah.
Or like he's in his own world.
Yeah. Just let him do his thing.
Yeah, no, that's a special thing too, because I think a lot of people are afraid of like, people can be unpredictable and come at you, take a photo of somebody, the wrong person, and you can be in a kind of a rough situation too. And I think a lot of people just don't want to have to deal with the consequences of that, because it's like often you see a photo and you're like, man, that would make a really good photo, but there's no way in hell I'm taking that photo.
Especially in the heat like this, I feel like people get a little bit more cranky.
They're a little more cranky. I don't blame them.
Just, like, I don't know if I want to mess with them.
I think so. One of our clients for my regular job is Valley Metro, and we get tasked to go out and photograph like light rail, and a lot of times it's like people getting on and off the light rail. And I think doing that, it's got me more like, at least I have like an incentive, like, all right, I need to do this. So it's not just like, oh, what are you taking it for? Is this for your portfolio or something? But no, it's like, oh, it's for work. So I can say that, and that's like an excuse, and I'll have like a little badge around. So that makes it a little bit easier for me. But just as a civilian,
you could just, that's a good way to do it then. Just fake it. Like, just be like, I'm doing this for work. And like put the badge on and like, it's like the people
Official
that like,
business.
you know, the whole clipboard thing. Like if you put on a high vis jacket and have a clipboard, you can get into anything. Like it's the same thing.
Safety goggles and carry a ladder.
You can do that with photography too, which I've done a couple of times. Well, not like big events, but events where you definitely have to like pay to get in. I've done that with photography.
Nice.
I come in with your camera, like, all right, where's the media section at? Oh, right this way, over here. Yeah. Like, oh, I need a badge. You're like, all right, here's your badge.
A lot of these places is so unorganized, and there's so many people, and nobody knows who. You know, everybody's just doing their own one little
Person
job.
getting paid a minimum wage at the door.
Yeah,
Like,
they don't care so much. Yeah, no, that's always good though, to be able to get into stuff like that and kind of weasel your way around.
Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. And then you had, gosh, I feel like it's been a while. You've been doing a little bit of wheat pasting, but you had a fairly large wheat paste that was on Roosevelt.
Yeah.
I remember that. That was, and you had to stand in your feet. Your feet were on the ground, right?
Yeah. So the wheat paste thing, there was a few wheat paste people who kind of inspired me to do that. I've been seeing their work a lot lately. And I think, you're always trying to do something a little bit different. And I think what I like about it is you kind of use whatever the canvas is as like to complement the photo. So a lot of, I'm trying to think back of like the one on Roosevelt. I'm trying to think of which one you saw on Roosevelt. There was two on Roosevelt.
There was, maybe I saw both, because I feel like there was a dancer one, and then there was also something that lined up with the Westward Ho. Was that the same one?
Yeah, that was the same one.
That was the same one. So that may have just been the only one I saw then.
So that was like the first time I ever got to do something kind of large scale. And that came like, I think I got selected by, as like a group or something. I can't remember exactly how it happened. But just using like the perspective and kind of like telling a story of like placing something that's not normally there, kind of using forced perspective to create an illusion with wheat paste is kind of like what I've been really interested in. I did a piece at Foundry actually with Art Lake.
Oh, that's right. We saw that too.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. That just popped it back in my head. Yeah. On the outside. Yeah.
So actually I wasn't, they were selecting artists based on their portfolio, and I was like, hey, like I don't have a piece made already, but I have an idea for a piece, and I did a mock-up of it, and they liked it, so I got selected for that.
I was nice. I feel like that was up for a while too.
Yeah, that was up for it was around Super Bowl last year. It was up for more than a month or so. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, we love that hotel.
We do. We do our 4th of July staycation. We do over there for like a night up in the Foundry, up in their suite rooms. But in the middle of summer, it's like cheap.
Oh, that's good to know. That's a good like hack, I think.
Yeah, and you get a nice view too. So we go up there for you got to like fight people for the rooms, because there's only like 3 of the rooms up there. But it's just a good view of the valley up there.
Yeah,
it's a very chill host. Very
brought to you by Foundry.
Foundry by Foundry. Yeah, Foundry. Foundry, if you'd like to sponsor us in any way, shape, or form, we are more than open to that.
Yeah,
totally.
We'll
we really
free drinks, free anything. Free rooms.
Yeah, we like that hotel. It's very chill.
Yeah,
very chill. But yeah, I do. I remember that work. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that
I think
year.
if anything, my personal photography is kind of going in that direction. Kind of finding, going back to like finding abandoned buildings that are getting demolished. I'm actually looking out for those, like, because in my head I want to like paste on walls more, but I feel wrong doing it on just a building.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's gonna get demolished.
It won't matter.
I feel a little bit better about doing it right there.
Yeah.
And there's something about like nothing lasts forever, kind of like that mindset going into the type of wheat paste that I want to do. It kind of makes it it's kind of like a cool like project, I think.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be there forever.
Yeah, which is interesting, because photography, you're capturing something in a moment in time, but yet at the same time you're looking at doing a sort of a.
But also like a lot of muralists I've heard from other muralists who kind of get upset when their stuff gets painted over, but at the same time I'm like, you don't own a building, like you got commissioned for it.
It's gonna happen.
It's like, it's gonna happen. It's a wall like out in the public, like you never know when somebody else is going to tag it. So
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of art not being that precious. Like you kind of move on to the next piece.
Yeah.
You kind of make it, move on to the next one. You know, you don't get stuck in like, oh, I did this mural. I'm known for that forever.
That's
You know?
true. That's true. Yeah, just keep it going. Do something huge.
Yeah. Well, I've got a hot tip for people who tag trains. As long as you don't cover up the numbers, supposedly they're like, it's just too much work to repaint it. So if you don't cover up the numbers, you're good. So
Huh.
Was that the hot
anyways,
tip?
hot tip.
Although-
I don't know if that's true. I saw it on
Interesting.
Instagram. So.
Also, hot tip: they can shoot you with no problem on a rail yard
yeah,
and not
so-
get in trouble, and they will shoot you.
Whoa.
Don't go on rail yards. Generally speaking, they're not places you want
It's
to go.
federal, so
They
they
will
got
shoot
federal
you.
rights.
Well, interesting enough is that my route to work sometimes when I'm riding, like sometimes the light rail will stop right in the middle of the bike path. So
Jeez.
I feel like I should just carry a spray can just in case.
Yeah.
And
Like you're
or
in my
some
way.
paper and paste it up.
Well, it's there
Big
anyway.
middle finger.
Just slap it up.
Yep, slap it on. Yeah.
Be too good.
Oh my goodness, those are the worst. Because either sometimes you're like, I think it's parked. I think I can climb underneath, which we've done a couple of times. Or if it's like moving a little bit, all right, I guess I gotta wait or go around.
Yeah.
Oh man, I would not.
That's
You
scary.
can pay me enough to climb under a train. Like, I don't think I'd trust that one
Carry
bit.
through.
Jeez Louise. Oh man, you had, speaking of bikes and light round stuff, like on the path, you had an accident like a while back.
Yeah, a
that
couple
was a little scary.
years ago. A couple years ago, it was a Friday evening, and I just finished up work. The coworker and I were like, "Oh, let's go ride bikes around, and we'll go grab some beers after work." And it was like rain; it was sprinkling a little bit. It was a little wet out still. Just riding my bike around Tempe Town Lake and like hit a corner a little too hard and fell wrong and like hit my head really hard.
Yeah.
And then like I was like, oh, I think I'm okay. Like maybe let's walk it off. And then started walking back to the office and just like throbbing pain. I'm like, I don't think I'm all right. Shouldn't have hurt this because I've hit my head before, like growing up, like skateboarding and riding bikes and stuff. And I was like, I don't think I ever felt this before. I should probably go to the hospital. Turns out like I fractured my skull, like severed an artery in my head. So they had like go in and like fix all that. And yeah.
Head injuries
That's
are
rough.
no joke. I had a friend that had one. Unfortunately, he was attacked. And he had brain swelling and had to have his brain, like the cap removed and like to relieve the swelling. And he was on a very scary path for like 3 months.
Oh man.
Where he was basically in ICU in New York from that. Like it's very scary. Head injuries can go from like 0 to 60 incredibly quick. Do you have any lasting problems with that? Like from the issue? Do you have any like?
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, recently I kind of started having headaches again, but I don't know if that's related or if it's something else. But I mean, when I was in hospital, pretty much the next day I was like pretty much feeling okay. Had a little bit of like pain in my head, but was home, like a few days after the surgery. And then like a couple weeks later, I was like up and back at work. And then like a month later, I was like riding my bike again, kind of okay.
With a helmet?
With the helmet. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
It's time
Definitely
for-
with the helmet now. Well, I didn't wear one on the ride over, but hopefully
Calculated
Yeah.
risks.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. So you have a little piece of your skull taken out?
Yeah.
Do you
Well,
have-
no, it's like held in with like some like plates.
Oh, they put plates on you?
Yeah,
crazy.
they plates in me. Yeah. I'm like
Oh.
part bionic now.
So you got the badass
Put a little
scar
magnet
there?
on there.
Yeah. I think it's titanium though. I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah,
Titanium's
the-
not magnetic, right?
No, it's not.
Oh.
Yeah, titanium's
Well,
not.
that's not cool.
Yeah, I didn't come back with any kind of abilities too. I couldn't play the piano, I didn't lose any abilities too, so I guess we're okay.
You're,
That's good.
You're even.
Yeah,
really.
we're
for,
even,
for
yeah.
a brain injury, you
a wash.
came out pretty okay, like on the low end there. But no, that's like pretty scary for sure.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, I remember people talking about like, wait, what? like, then I was
Yeah,
like,
it was crazy too. The next day, there was a bike ride happening in Scottsdale that was starting at a bike shop and ending at a brewery. And my partner and I were like, "Oh man, we should get helmets. Like, it should be like the first time we get helmets. Like, really, like, be serious." And that happened the day before.
Oh man.
It's always when you do that.
And luckily, like, I was feeling fine. I was like at the hospital, like eating Jello and watching Fresh Prince of Bel Air. And I was like, "Yeah, like, Sarah, you're good. Like, just go to the bike ride. Tell everybody I'm okay. Like, I'm good. Tell them people not to worry."
Yeah.
And yeah, it worked out.
Yeah.
Helmets are good. I wear mine. It's dorky as hell, but you know what? I'm a little clumsy, so I know myself. So I don't even go that fast on my bike either. I also had like a traumatic bike accident as a child, so I'm very like,
Yeah.
I still have that in me where I'm like, let's slow down a little. Like, yeah, it's
Well,
scary.
We're glad you recovered just fine.
Yes, yes, absolutely. To go on another day for
Yep.
photo taking. So, what's your long-term plans? Do you have any, or are you just kind of, are you more of a where the wind takes you for photography, or do you have actual things worked out in your head that you want to do?
I've been doing a lot of film lately, like not photography film, like video.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of video projects lately, and kind of same thing, like kind of same thing how the passion project started. I'm getting commissioned to do, things that I'm like passionate about. A lot of things to do with my culture and other like indigenous cultures around Arizona, or kind of projects that I've been getting paid to do, which is kind of cool.
That's really
Oh,
cool.
that's rad.
Yeah.
Same thing, like just they give me parameters, but it's pretty much like, all right, just give us your ideas, Danny, and like I'll give them my ideas and how long it would take, and yeah, I'm kind of in the middle of a project right now, filming some native farmers up near the Grand Canyon.
Oh,
So I'm kind of in the middle of like every other weekend I'm going up there filming a different photographer or a different farmer. Them just talking about their, just whatever they're doing. And it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Kind of like
That's awesome.
documentaries, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's very cool. What do they farm up there?
A lot of different things. Each farmer is kind of different. And I think that's the point. They're kind of like, so it's funded by the Little Colorado River Co-op. I think that's what it is.
Oh, that's rad.
And they just want to highlight a lot of the farmers up there, how they get their water, how they use it, what do they use their harvest for, what are they harvesting, and like what are some of the challenges, and just kind of capturing their overall story.
Yeah.
And everybody's kind of different. So far it's been a lot of different things. The last person I went up to Loop, Arizona, which is about 45 minutes north of Flagstaff, and he was just getting ready to get ready for summer for his hoop house, because he had like plastic over it to survive the winter, because he gets a lot of snow up there.
Yeah.
But it was getting too hot for the plastic, so he had a bunch of people to come out. It's all community based too, so
Yeah.
people were just coming up to help, like just get ready for the summer pretty much. And he would like feed us, and like it was cool. It was really neat how the community works up there. Everybody is kind of farming for each other,
Yeah.
and everybody comes up and supports. Everybody has like a different tool. He has a bunch of sheep, so somebody came with some shears to like shear the sheep. That's great.
awesome.
Yeah. So it's just kind of capturing that, just to tell their story pretty much. Yeah, it's been really fun.
Well, that's exciting. When's that done? Is it like gonna be a final thing that's put out, or how's
It'll be put out probably sometime during the fall. Right now, I'm about halfway through shooting all the farmers, so kind of just getting all the footage together,
Yeah.
kind of assessing the story, and kind of make almost a film series almost.
Very
for it.
cool. That sounds really interesting. Are you
Yeah.
taking
Cool.
still photography as well while you're
Oh yeah,
doing
I
that?
got-
Yeah, there's a lot of that going
yeah,
on.
totally.
That's cool.
Mostly video, but yeah, try to get a bunch of photos as well. So yeah, it's been
Go in
pretty
tandem
great.
with it.
Yeah.
That is cool. Now, I've heard some stuff about reservation, as far as taking photos on the reservations is sort of like a thing you can't do. Is that true?
I think generally on the reservation, but if it's someone's private property,
you can do
it's
that.
fine.
Yeah. Because people have told me that someone said, generally speaking, you can't go to the reservation, you can't take photos. But then they also said that even they can't take photos. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's depending on the reservation.
Yeah.
So I did another project, very similar. So I did this other project. That's how I got in touch for this current project I'm doing right now. But the other project was featuring indigenous native entrepreneurs. So one was in Yuma. He had a roastery out in Yuma, right next, or pretty much Yuma. So he was in a town called Winter Haven. So he's a Quechua Nation out there, and he has a small roastery, which is doing really well. He supplies beans to San Diego and Tucson and Phoenix. And he got funded for like a loan to get all his equipment and everything. So the company who did the funding for him, or, help him raise funds, is hired me to pretty much document their story. So I went out there for him for one. Another one was in Albuquerque. a woman who started a plant-based like indigenous food like restaurant. It was really cool. So went out there, filmed her, and then another woman. She has a pottery business in Laguna, and out there is a really small town. It's between like the border of Arizona and Albuquerque. It's like right in the middle, pretty much. And we were filming out there in her house. You know, her doing her pottery and everything, and I was like, oh, we should get some shots like around the community, and not thinking like we got busted right away. It's just such a small community that like somebody saw us and like told like the person who in charge, and they told us we couldn't film, which makes sense, but yeah, it kind of depends on where you're going, I think.
It's just
the community that was near Albuquerque, they were definitely more lenient because where she lived, it's pretty like high traffic. There's like a watering like hole nearby, so there's a ton of tourists coming from Albuquerque to go like where she lives. So I think it's harder to regulate out there. I'm sure it's the same regulations. You're not supposed to, but I mean, people are taking their ATVs up there and boats. So
Yeah.
I mean,
you think it's an exploitation type thing?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it does really good for small businesses up there because I mean, a lot of people have like little restaurants and you know, there's like a small gas station that there's like a whole bunch of like food vendors, and those are always like always sustaining people's income out there. So maybe, I mean, it probably depends on who you ask.
What the reasons are. But I heard that not too long ago. I was like, oh, I had no idea that was even a thing. I was thinking they need to do that in, so I'm originally from central Pennsylvania, and there's a lot of Amish. And the Amish community, it's interesting in certain areas, the Amish community, especially around Lancaster, you think very Amish. And the tourists are kind of insane with like, they're trying to like, they almost get in the way of their life. Like, hey, wait, can you pose and stuff? And like, they do not want their photo taken like for many reasons. But like, it's weird how tourists can kind of get up in that and be like, oh, it's a buggy. Oh, it's an Amish person. And like, they're trying to.
Some people just have no complete disregard of cultural norms. And
I think commercial work too is different too. Like if you're just going out to downtown Phoenix and taking photos for fun, I think you're good. But even for projects for like work, like we need like a permit and everything from the city to shoot anywhere. So I mean that was a commercial work project that we're doing up there, so we couldn't really say anything. We're like, all right, we won't use this footage. And that's it.
Makes sense.
I mean, everywhere you go you got a little bit of a different.
You
got to go with whatever the local
totally
is as far as stuff goes.
There's some people who tried taking pictures just in like these old towns and near some of the federal buildings, and they get stopped and told you can't be taking pictures here. And because a lot of the federal buildings are protected, and you know there's a concern of people taking pictures and then terrorists blowing it up and stuff. So
that's absolutely a thing. My boss, so I work in a very corporate world, and my boss in one of his previous jobs that he traveled a lot around the country, and he was looking at new locations to put in, I think it was like a Meineke or something. It was like a car thing that he worked for. And he was in, I believe it was Alabama. And he was in Alabama and he was taking photos of this spot. And apparently it was a little too close to like some other important like electrical thing or something like that. I forget exactly what it was, but somebody turned him in. The FBI came to like his work. They had tracked him down to like question him on what he was taking photos of. And he's like, I was doing this for work. What are you talking about? He said, I think my skin tone was a little too dark for that's what he thought it was. But they went straight like FBI, like literally contacted his job and tracked down who he was to like be like, what are those photos? What are you doing with them? Like, what are you taking a photo of? So you can.
I guess it's weird when you're just taking a picture of a building that's boring. It's not like old or aged or something.
That's all. It's a worry sometimes. Like you're somewhere you're not familiar with like the area, and you're taking a photo, and like you don't know, like that's something you're maybe not supposed to take a photo of. I mean, there's some things that are like kind of obvious, and you're like, that's probably not right.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm out taking photos at the library all the time, and sometimes I don't have my little badge with me. And technically, like the marketing team is supposed to tell like the security guards and managers who run the light rail that we're being able to be out there, but sometimes we can't. We just gotta get the photo. A lot of times, sometimes we get stopped a lot too. And they're like, "Hey, you can be here." I'm like, "What? Like, really?" Call so and so right now, and It's a whole thing. So
Yeah.
even within our job, I had to be sneaky sometimes,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
That's part of it.
I'm very good at, I think.
Yeah. Get out before somebody questions you.
Yep.
I suppose that's good that they're questioning though. That makes me feel
Yeah,
better about
no,
Light Rail.
totally.
Like
Yeah.
they're actually keeping an eye on it, and like people are like,
Yeah.
you know, that's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good thing for sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's definitely some times where you're like, should I do this? Should I take a photo of this? You got to do it very slick, like very.
Oh, no,
it's hard
totally.
with digital. Seems a little easier to get away with it. You can like film. I feel like you kind of like, well, who are we talking to?
You got to be really sly and hide your SD card before they see it. We want to see what's on your camera.
Yeah, we were talking to Everett Malloy. He does a lot of large format, and I remember him. He was telling us a story about he was set up. He was somewhere and he was taking photos,
Oh yeah.
large format, and he had to like get out of there really quick because he was taking photos of some. Oh man, I don't remember what it was,
Yeah.
but it was like something kind of questionable, and he was like just trying to get the photo as fast
Yeah.
as he could, but he was like shooting on large format, so he had to like set all this stuff up and like to get like this one photo, like versus digital. I mean, you can almost like with a camera on your phone,
Yeah.
you can like take away, but then sometimes when you're doing like some of this film stuff, it's a little harder
No, it's kinda
to get
interesting.
away with it.
Yeah, it makes me think about like drones nowadays because
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
a lot of drone work you can't shoot anywhere, and everything's being recorded. Everything has a log nowadays. But
Yeah.
in the beginning days of drones, like I don't think they had any kind
That
of
was a
log
Wild
system.
West.
Yeah, you could fly. You could fly
Yeah.
like next to like a jet if
Yeah.
you wanted to. You ever see those old videos of like a drone like zooming past a freaking jet?
Oh geez.
Like they take it way up. There's a ton of regulations. Everything's logged. So I bet I don't know, it might be kind of scary. Maybe eventually do like digital photos. They'll have a log on that too. I don't know.
Yeah, it's actually, what is it? It's the same as if you were to shoot at an airplane, if you were to shoot at a drone. So like it's federally protected because it's FAA, it's airspace.
Yeah.
But yeah, drones are interesting. I mean,
Yep.
it's a whole.
Excuse me.
Roger has a drone, and he mentioned some. You have to have a license, and a little sketchy when you go and you want to shoot something, because you have to have a license, you have to know what you're doing, and I don't know. I mean, I guess you're flying something, it can get sucked into a plane, and
Yeah.
have a
Yeah,
huge
that can
crash or
definitely
something.
be
Yeah, totally.
dangerous, and it can be like a privacy issue. You have like
Yeah,
in public, you can take anything in public, but when you're taking like a drone, you're now like you're in public, but now you're going over like people's fenced in backyards and seeing windows that you can't see from the street. It opens up like this whole new world of privacy where it's like, is that okay? That's probably not okay.
yeah.
Because it sort of opens that up.
On a side note, there's a person I know that's in Australia, Jace Film. I really want to get him on the podcast. He does drone photography, but he actually straps a film camera onto the drones and records. And so he'll do like,
That's awesome.
like he's got like a special like thing that pushes the button on the camera.
How does he do that? I have to have him on. How's he like forwarding the film? It's on an auto, like an
I
auto
think he's got
camera.
like an auto setup,
Yeah.
but I was like, dude, what?
Even
Like,
the weight. I'm
Yeah.
I'm kind of
Yeah.
impressed with getting the weight of a film camera up there.
yeah, he's got to have a special unit.
I
but-
saw somebody put a Polaroid up on a drone, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
comes out the front. I was like, that's awesome.
I want to say that was the same guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It
I
might have
think-
been, yeah.
That's
yeah,
hilarious.
that or somebody saw that, him doing that. But he had like a motion picture camera, so like a Super 8, and we were
What?
shooting. I know it's a total trip. I'm like, dude, what? Like, how do you get that on there? Like, but he also does like astrophotography, and he got the space station passing in front of the sun, I think it was, or the moon, I forget which. But that guy's a total trip. I mean, what
he
he's
gets some cool
doing.
stuff.
I'm like, how are you doing that?
You can get away with too. I was just thinking you can get away with film photography in a lot of situations where people feel a little weird about like a regular camera or a phone camera. But if you set up like an old film camera, people get kind of fascinated with it and like, oh, what's that? Like you end up, the quickest way to get people to come to you is to have an old, interesting looking film camera. Because I've noticed that I've gone out a few times and my camera alone, setting it up, will get people to come over, especially if I'm doing any tripod stuff. So if I have a pinhole camera
Yeah.
or something, people are like, what is that? What are you shooting on? And like like, hey, you want a photo? Like, it just opens that up just because the interest of that, and people get a little more like, they're so distracted by the film camera, they don't really care what you're taking the photo of because of the camera being what it is.
Oh man, yeah. I currently have a little Canon camera, film camera in my possession. Don't know how to use it. I should have brought it with me. You guys could have broke it down.
Give
for
you
me.
a rundown.
Yeah. What are some like few tips for like quick ones for like a beginner photographer?
Okay, I'll give you one.
Well,
Functional camera is good. Most of the old cameras, the light meter usually goes, but you can use light meters off your phone. So you can look up a light meter on your phone to use one if you need it. But film, if you're just starting in film, this is my Stacy's top tips. Dan, give it his.
I'll fill in.
So use the same camera and use the same photo stock and develop it the same way for a while. And then once you get that down, then start deviating. Because film, there's a lot of varieties of film. And I think a lot of people, they're like, I want to try it all. But then they can't quite figure out, oh, I did that wrong. Because they don't know if it was the film necessarily that did it. It's the consistency part of it. And then also with film, keep your film cold.
Keep it in the fridge.
Especially here, because it does mess with it. Black and white's a little better.
How's it work for here?
Well, it doesn't have to be refrigerated in the sense of like
I see.
like milk,
Yeah.
It's not going to go bad or that sort of thing. But over time, the heat just destroys the film. So if you have a roll of film in a fridge versus a roll of film out of the fridge, out in like your car for like a month, you're going to notice a difference between the two.
Interesting.
Especially color.
Yeah, especially color. Black and white tends to hold up a little bit better, but film's made up of organic compounds. So over time, you get the decay just from the heat.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a total trip, but a lot of people don't realize that. So always
before
keep
and
it
after.
Yeah. Always keep your film in the fridge. As far as like a kind of looking for a camera, I would recommend making sure the camera's functional. And usually what you do is you actuate the shutter, so you cock it, and then you shoot multiple times over throughout all of the shutter speeds, and you kind of just make sure that your shutter's firing consistently across the board. A lot of times these cameras that people pick up from like Goodwill will end up having issues where the gears get kind of stuck, especially on these longer exposures. Like if you do like a 1/2 second exposure or 1 second exposure, it'll kind of get stuck there. So easy way to check that is to set your shutter speed at 1/100th of a second, fire it like 10 times, then switch over to 80th, 60th, and just kind of keep going down until you get through it all. The other thing too is to check and make sure it doesn't physically look damaged with the camera. And it's kind of tricky to tell when you aren't super familiar with cameras, but usually if it's something that sticks out and is obvious, you kind of just notice it. Anything that's like parts and like plastic pieces that are sitting inside the camera would be a concern, that sort of thing.
Stay away from cameras online unless it's a reputable source if you buy a film camera, because there's a lot of garbage out there and a lot of people don't know. And film cameras became very expensive and trendy, and people are just selling anything, and it's stuff that's like not functional. So it's always good to have like KEH is like a film. They sell.
Yeah, there's KEH. There's a few other online.
Cameras from Japan tend to be like really good. People take care of them over there, and like it tend to be in good shape, which is good.
Yeah, they don't get abused like over here.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the reasons why I haven't really got into it. So the current camera I have was an old friend's camera that he kind of forgot that I have it. So if he's listening right now, it's mine now.
So you left it way too long. Way too long. Finders keepers.
Statute of limitations.
Yes.
Yeah. That's good
explained.
to know. I feel like I need to bring like somebody with me to like, is this good? Like, check it out.
And then don't use expired film. That's Stacy's hot take. Some people love it, but I hate expired
When you're
film.
starting out, you want to hold off on doing expired film.
There's a trend with that.
With the resurgence of film, there's been this thing that's happened where it's actually harder to find expired film that's actually decent. So as film kind of changed over the years, back in 2010, it kind of went down. And so a lot of people were switching over, getting digital cameras. They cold stored their film. And then as we carry on, we get into 2020, a lot of this film has already been basically resold to people who actually shoot it or collect it. So anything that's out there now is stuff that's basically been in a box in a garage somewhere. It's really hard to find stuff that's cold stored. So like Stacey had mentioned, it's a huge gamble, and usually you're going to lose with expired film. However, if you find a source that has a huge supply and it's cold stored, you can actually get some pretty decent results. Yeah, so just kind of depends on what you're doing. But there's also a style you can get with expired film. Usually the colors are a little bit more, I'd say a little bit more muted, a little bit more, a little different. I don't know how to explain it. But it basically kind of shifts the color. But
yeah, it absolutely does. So, but generally speaking, I'm like, don't buy expired film.
Yeah, but
it's no good. And then people always like, people don't think film's supposed to look really good too. I mean, you're even on a 35 millimeter, that's like the equivalent of what as far as megapixels? Like
it's about 8 megapixel.
It's an 8 megapixel just off of 35. So you're still getting very good quality off of 35.
No, I remember the photos I took before. They look really sharp too. I was actually that's the main thing. I was like surprised myself on the exposure. And the focus. I'm like, oh, I learned a little something.
Those are the two challenging things I think. The biggest thing nowadays is getting your exposure right. A lot of people don't get that. And luckily, when you scan your film rather than just print it, it's a little bit more consistent with getting better results because there's some latitude with film. However, if you can nail your exposure and you can get that figured out, that's like the biggest chunk of this whole thing with shooting film. Beyond that, it's just a matter of getting your focus right. And really, as far as like finding a camera that you like and working with it, just comes with experience. I mean, as you shoot more, you try one camera and then you try another camera. You ask your friends about, what cameras do you shoot and that sort of thing. And then before you know it, you're shooting 20 by 24 and just massive cameras, and or you're shooting glass plates, and you have a van that's got all sorts of nasty chemicals in it.
That's what happens. But also going from digital to film, if you shoot on film, overexpose. So digital, it's always film over.
Film loves light. In order to get an image, you need that light. The basic thing with film is you have your photons flying off your subject, comes in, hits the film, causes a reaction to the silvers that are on the film, and without that, you end up struggling to get anything. With a digital camera, typically you want underexpose. You don't want to max out, otherwise all your levels max out and you're peaking. But with film, it's a little bit more forgiving the other way around.
Interesting.
So
I'm totally used to underexposing.
You have to overexpose.
Interesting.
You have a little bit more latitude in that area going over. Okay. So
absolutely. Do you print a lot of your work at all?
I think in the past year or two, I've been printing a lot more. I think in the last 2 years, I've had a few opportunities to do some photo shows. So I've been trying to mess around with printing. The quality is I'm still kind of messing around with what looks good and how I can frame things. The last show I did, it was at Roses by the Stairs, and I had a few photos that were framed and I printed from Phoenix Photo Lab. That's pretty cool. The frames, I found that going to Goodwill, finding some really good frames.
Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. I just refinished them, sand them down, repainted them, clean up the glass, and I think that's the key to look for glass, not plastic.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 100%. I learned that the hard way. I got a bunch of plastic ones. I'm like, man, these are terrible.
Yeah.
They're all fuzzy. You can't
Yeah.
So get glass.
Yeah. Time does not treat the plastic ones good.
Yeah. Framing can be really pricey, and that can jump up there really quick.
Pricey. Yeah.
If you can find a good selection of interesting frames or consistent frames at a Goodwill, that's your best route. And there's a lot of people that just get rid of it. There's not their style. I'm the type of person that just likes the simple black frame.
Yeah, me too.
So same.
A lot of times, if I find a fancy frame, I'll try to the show I did, I just spray painted everything matte black, but they're all slightly different. But most of them were just simple black frames.
Yeah,
which I like too.
I will say, as far as buying new frames, Target of all places, actually has a pretty decent selection. Michaels has a good selection on frames as well. However,
they have good sales every once in a while that make it.
however,
okay.
their frames are a little weird.
Janky is the word I'd use.
Yeah, they're not they're cheaply manufactured,
Yes.
and you have inconsistencies on size, and it's just not that great. But Target, on the other hand, it's like a little step above.
It is, yeah, which is strange.
But
That's good to know.
Yeah, we peruse through the Target every once in a while. We're like, what?
Occasionally I'll
Like,
see
these
a frame
frames
and
are
be
pretty
like,
good.
I have a picture I'll print someday. I'm gonna put it in that frame.
Dan has
And
a very large collection of frames without
Yeah.
photos.
Ooh.
I'm like, I like square frames because like very like subtle square frames, like very thin molding and stuff. But yeah, framing's a whole nother world.
IKEA's cheap, but IKEA's like sizes are weird,
Those
and
got
they have the
plastic.
plastic. Yeah, but their
yeah.
prices can't be beat with the IKEA prices. So depending on what you're doing or how you're showing it,
Yeah.
IKEA is so good. But they have weird sizes. Like they don't fit like standard stuff, so they get a little.
Yeah, you can buy like 12 frames for like $60 there, which
Yeah,
is
you can
crazy.
you can get pretty
Yeah.
cheap. Yeah, I've done that before. I had was my pinhole. I think my pinhole photos that I did. That was all under IKEA frames. But I had like 12 pieces, and that's like new frames. I'm like, that's a lot, and it's hard to
Yeah.
find that. And I wanted all the frames to look the same too, which is almost
Totally.
impossible to do through a Goodwill. So it's like, well, I'll just do IKEA, but it's like, yikes.
Yeah.
Even
It's-
going custom framing is crazy.
Oh, custom framing is
The
crazy,
last
crazy.
custom frame I got, it cost like $400. It was like
Yep.
maybe a 1 inch, but they were like sold me on the museum glass. I'm like, ooh,
Oh
that
yeah,
sounds cool.
That's good stuff though.
It is
And
good
it
stuff.
looked dope too
Yeah.
because they had like a little sticker in the back that said
Yep.
museum. I'm like, whoa, that's cool. Like
Yeah.
I kind of just want to make stickers that say museum glass just for
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Museum glass is a whole nother game. If you guys have never seen museum glass, it's basically like there's no glass there.
Yeah.
And the color of your print, everything
Ooh,
is
yeah.
it's just so good.
It's worth it if you can afford it.
Yeah, but it's like
cool.
four
Yeah.
times
Oh my God.
4 times the cost
Yeah.
on the glass. It's
Very,
just,
very
it
pricey.
can get really priced really quick.
It's tough too because like the stuff I've been wanting to print, I want to make big prints. Like,
Yeah.
Ooh.
and like big frames. So I found a few. I'm actually looking for new frames right now for the monsoon show. That's the next time I'm gonna print something.
Yeah.
But I think I want to print on metal because we have we're gonna put some photos for the monsoon show at Gaio Blanco down the street.
Oh, nice.
from Andrew's place. And I want a really big metal
Yeah.
frame one.
We actually do that at my work. We print. It's actually a dye sublimation process where you print onto the paper and then you put it into a heat press, and it presses the image into the metal. And the cool thing with it is that because of the dye sublimation process, it helps preserve the print. So it's actually embedded into the metal, and the vibrance is still there. It like colorful images work really well for it. But it's much more durable because it's been dye sublimated into the metal rather than sitting on the surface like if you were to print onto a hard substrate. But we'll have to chat on that.
Yeah,
I might
I
get you some pricing.
Andrea got me a print from there once before.
Oh,
She
yeah.
was like, it was like some kind of promotional thing. I think it's when you guys first got it. Is
Oh,
it
yeah,
is
yeah.
it new?
It's been the process of doing the Chromalex or the metal prints has been out for a while. But the company I work at, we've been doing it probably for the past 6-7 years now.
Oh, okay.
So we've got
Nice.
it down to a science.
Cool.
We've got it
Yeah.
figured out.
Those
Yeah.
prints look cool too.
Yeah.
Like on metal. Yeah.
Ooh,
Looks really
yeah.
rad.
I've been wanting to do one as well. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't have much of my stuff like commercially printed. Like I've done some prints here and there, but I'm like, you know what? I found one I really like. I want to get that printed. So
Yeah, the monsoon shots look cool because I remember Michael Blinsky got a print on metal and he showed me. I'm like, whoa, that looks
Yeah.
fucking dope. Sorry for cursing.
it's all good.
But that's cool.
You use your one F-bomb. No.
Yeah, yeah.
You used it.
Yeah, the metal's amazing, especially with Mike's work. I'd love to get him on as well.
He's a elusive creature.
He is.
That guy. Yeah.
But yeah, his haboos and
Yeah, it's good. Haboob.
tornadoes.
Is it haboo
and-
or haboob?
Haboob.
I don't plural. Is it plural?
Haboob.
Haboob. Haboo.
That's a ridiculous
I
name.
don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think it's from here. I think it's from like the Middle East or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard it called that there, and
Yeah.
then they put it over. Because here I feel like people just said dust storm, right? Like,
Yeah.
I always heard it called just a dust storm.
Haboob
Yeah.
sounds more exotic.
Yeah.
It does. It has like a very like, yeah.
Exactly.
Ooh, what is that?
Yeah.
It sounds a little dirty. It is.
Yep.
I think he made a shirt once that says "I love big haboobs." I'm like, oh, that's so good.
It's pretty good. I like that.
Clever.
Yep.
We need more of them. We haven't really, have we had any of this?
So
We've had a little bit of one.
I saw like,
no
like a
good
week ago, there
ones.
was a little bit of
Yes.
something coming in, but nothing really.
They kind of dissipate
happened.
by the time they get to Phoenix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
Like
surrounded
Like
by
Tucson
them.
gets all the good storms. Like Tucson's.
Yeah, they
like
get
the
actually
best
hit
place.
by them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the middle from here to Tucson, that's where they all happen.
Yeah.
All the big ones.
Yeah, Casa Grande.
Yeah.
You're just like
oh man.
chilling there.
Nonstop.
Yep. Yeah. It's
the
been a
place to
while
be.
since like a really good one has hit Phoenix, I think. I think last year we got one at night. And I remember I put my drone up just to see. Like I used my drone as a telescope.
Yeah.
And I put it up. I'm like, is it coming? And I
Yeah.
saw it. And my drone almost blew out of sky.
jeez.
So I couldn't get a shot of it. And I like, got scared and like brought it back down.
Yeah. Just
But I'm
fly
like,
out.
damn it. I should have like just sacrificed the drone and like try to get a shot.
Oh yeah.
It was pretty intense.
Yeah. It's always a
Just
treat
Just take
when
the drone right into it.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I don't think my drone would make it though.
I don't think
Mine's
it-
too
yeah,
little. It'll probably just blow away before it even gets close to it.
Yeah, those things are pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever the news is like, it's like was it 7 o'clock in the evening, sun's still up, but it's going down, and like the news hops out and is up in their helicopter and they're getting like coverage of it.
Oh man.
It's always a treat seeing it like come through on the news, like
Yep.
it's happening. But yeah,
We need some good ones. I
Yeah.
feel like we're getting kind of, we're not getting much of anything. We're already here
Not really.
yeah,
in July. We need something. We need rain in general or
yeah.
heat.
Rain would be
Or
nice.
Anything
Some good rain
like-
last year.
Yeah, just need something to break the heat.
Yeah,
That's what makes
need
it
more
tough
of
here too for photography. We're like on this weird opposite schedule than the rest of the country. Everybody's like, I see a lot of photos and people out taking things, like everyone I
Yeah.
follow, and like I'm like, I want to go out too.
It's too hot. Might as well just take pictures
Yeah.
inside my oven.
I haven't really gone out to shoot for myself in a while. I mean, I'll still get stuff on my phone, but it doesn't quite feel the same.
Mhm.
It kind of just feels. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how you guys feel
Yeah.
about the phone photography, but whenever I just take a photo of my phone, I mean, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's cool, but I mean, it's not. I'm not actively going out
Yeah.
to shoot. You know what I mean? I haven't done that in a while.
Yeah.
For me, like just for me.
Yeah, it's nice
Yeah.
to have as a backup because I feel good, like, because I don't always carry my film camera around. So it's
Yeah.
like when I see something I want to take a photo of, I'm like, that's great. But I also do some alternative process stuff. So some of my alternative process stuff will be digital photos, and some of them are even off my phone. So I've done like some lumen printing and some cyanotype work that have been from cell phone photos. So it's like kind of you can
Yeah.
combination of like, analog plus this digital thing.
Yeah.
It's just so convenient and it's so fast. That's the one thing I love film. I get really bored of anything digital because it's like I like all the after stuff too, not just like the photo moment. So it's like when I take digital, it's like the photo moment there. Well, okay, it's gone. What am I going to do with that? So
It's easy to just snap a photo on your phone versus,
yeah,
you shoot it on film and then you have to wait, you have to develop it.
Yeah.
You have this anticipation that's like there
Yeah.
versus like, okay, well, I looked at it right after I took it, like forget about it. But
But conversely, there's a lot of moments that you miss with film because you have to think about it for a little bit. There's a
Yeah.
pause
Yeah.
there that has to happen. With digital, you can just like
Yep.
really right away. And a phone is even more of an extension of that, where you can really capture something really quickly that's fleeting. And that's sort of like, that's a big hard part of film photography, I find, is like just setting up the shot. I mean, I primarily shoot with like 120 film. It takes me a little bit to frame it up and get it ready and like take the shot. And it's, I got to cock the shutter and like,
load the film.
yeah. And like, it just, to do all of that, you miss a lot of stuff that's quick and you're just sort of there. So I'm always very grateful to have my phone, but I'm always like, man, I wish I could have got that on film.
Yeah.
like at
and I
the
would
same
say
time.
for my stuff, I think I don't really have much for wide angle lenses. Although
Yeah,
I really
that's true.
like that
Yeah.
the iPhone's able to like shoot these really wide angles, even though they're kind of distorted and fuzzy.
Yeah.
But in situations where you there's this particular environment that you're in, or this location that you're at, and you're like, man, I want to document this. I want to just get a snapshot really quick. Or, sunset or mountain range or something like that. It's nice to be able to just pull that out and still get that, but also, still shoot on film.
Yeah.
Plus the geotagging is huge.
Geotagging is nice.
Oh yeah.
Then
Yeah.
I'll often do stuff where I'm like, I took a picture somewhere, and I have the photographic memory of remembering shooting it, and then with my phone, and then looking at it on the screen and being like, oh yeah, that's a memory. And then I'm like, I know where I took it, and then I remember the image, but I don't remember when. And geotagging's been like a really nice thing, because there's so many times where I'm like, oh yeah, I need to like zoom in on my map and find it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I have it. So which you can't really do that with film easily.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose you could if you like documented, also shot a digital photo of it when you're
in
doing
film
that.
you don't have anything on that, so you don't have like what the settings were that you shot that photo on either. So a lot of film photographers actually use their cell phone in conjunction to get a record of that, because there's apps that'll do that. So you can take the photo and you still have, I took this at f8, like at 100th of a second. Like you still have that and the photo that you can match up with your film photo.
Interesting.
Because it's hard otherwise. Some people keep field journals too, just to like kind of keep track of all that stuff, because you don't have that data on the film. So
yeah, the light meter app's really nice, because you can log the log all of that information. You have the geo location, you have the if you use it, the meter in the app, then you have all that information. You just match it to your camera, and it just makes it really nice.
Yeah, the light meter alone is like so invaluable for a lot of film photographers, because most of the cameras they're all old, and the light meter is always like first thing to go on the damn things. So if you use a light meter, need a light meter, like the cell phone's like a really good alternative to that.
Yeah.
Do you think cell phones, when they came out, like to the extent that they've come out, like with everyone having them and having like a fairly decent camera, do you think it devalued photography as a profession when that happened?
I think so, a little bit. I think so I think it's like a quality question, maybe. I think there's a lot more photography, but the quality is definitely not there. I think the storytelling's not there as much in a lot of cases. But again, it kind of depends on who you ask, though. Like whoever's showing you the photo, if it's somebody professionally showing the photo, I feel like sometimes it can kind of get mixed a little bit. But it kind of opened up like families and like, just regular people capturing really great moments. And that's what really matters, I guess.
Yeah.
But commercially for people, it's kind of hit or miss, I think, on like, if they can only speak on the technical parts, I feel like it's lost a little bit. Because at least for me, I think that's like the quality part is like, the actual effort I went into it, the story that went into it. And if it's just like you can just talk tech like specs about your photos and or how long you like edited this. Like I remember this one dude who was showing me his photos, and he was showing me like so many layers for this like photo like he took. Like somebody like he exposed each part of the photo and then stitched it all together in Photoshop. I'm like, that's cool, but I mean, your client can pay for that? I'm like, that seems like a lot of work for one image. I'm like, that's not like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what world you're living in, but
It's, I mean, I think commercially it's changed things for sure. But it's one of those things just like with AI now, where it's like we have AI that's like, trying to take technical jobs and even creative jobs and change them. I think in just like anything else, it makes it more available. And for me, I'm kind of slow when it comes to trying to draft up, outlines and stuff like that. But I can just like key something in to AI and be like, create this. And it's like, boom, I have it. Now I can like elaborate on that. So as far as photography is concerned, I think that it's improved digital photography and like cell phone photography. It's improved some stuff, but again, those technical aspects, you have those limitations. Like one of the biggest things, I mean, haven't upgraded my digital camera in 17 years now, and I've been able to get by with my phone, but then there's something that's lacking with my phone, and it's just the ability to control that depth of field and get good results and have that control, which I just don't feel I do. Even with a special app, I just don't feel like I have the same control with a proper digital camera.
You're still limited to a certain extent. Yeah, but
Yeah.
they've gotten so good at this point. It's kind of crazy how good they've gotten.
It kind of goes. I think about design a lot too. The design world's kind of the same way. Like, AI, and even like other apps like Canva and like things like was it Fiverr?
Yep.
You can like create the logos and stuff. It kind of takes away the artistry of like the designer.
Yeah.
But even like 10 years ago, I bet even those designers then, like the 10 years before that, they were thinking about like, oh, you got like Photoshop 1 now? That's weird.
Yep.
Yeah.
We did everything by like, like scanning it and like,
oh yeah, compositing in
oh
a
my
dark
goodness,
room.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
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 Yep. There's always that. Like when digital came out, all the people that shot film were like, oh no.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
It's
It's going to be a thing.
I saw an
Yeah.
advertisement for this new thing that's it's called, I don't know if I want to name drop it because I'm not a big fan of it, but essentially it's this device that you attach to your camera, and it does like the thinking of what the photographer would do. And I'm just like,
Whoa.
I'm like, it like picks the best settings, it analyzes the scene, and I'm like, well, what's the point of the camera?
Yeah.
And it's like a brain, and that's how they advertise it. And I'm like, so I guess you don't have to be a photographer. You could just buy this equipment and then boom, it does it. But like you still have to have some creative intention. You have to have, I think the big thing's intention more so than even creativity.
Yeah.
It's like, what's your intent? What's your goal? And have you thought that out? And I feel like it's
interesting.
lacking now.
Photography is one of those weird things. So it's an art that you don't have to be an artist to do it and still do it somewhat competently. You can't do that with a lot of art. You're either a good painter or you're not a good painter. I mean, that's all subjective. But photography, you have a lot of people that can get into it. They don't have necessarily the artistic part of it behind it. And you give them those tools and it's helping them. But at the same time, you're looking at it through a creative lens where you're like, well, I'm losing that creative control. Whereas they're looking at it and they're looking more on the tech part. I think there's a lot of people with photography where they fall into like a couple camps, and there's a lot of in between. But you have the people that are super into the tech part of it, into the camera, into the gear, like all the technical part of it. And then you have the other people who are like, it's just a tool for me to get the image that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
this, and it's such a wide spread with photography. I feel
Totally.
like way more than a lot of other arts are.
I feel like that's thinking about like other friends who are like small business owners who are not artists at all, but they make like a craft or something, and they need like imagery or design art to like help complement. And in that case, like, I mean, it seems like everybody's in a boat, and that's why it's taking away jobs from like us. But I can kind of get it because they're trying to like, make their business happen, and, trying to like put all the money into like the work that they're making rather than paying somebody else to do it for them.
Yeah.
I mean, bit of compromise. I mean, maybe someday down the road they'll like be able to afford it, because I've had that happen before too.
Yeah.
Like even like cycling photos that I've done for a local cycling company, and early on it was just like photos, but now they're kind of like exploring like more video work, which video work takes more time and it costs more.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun for them to like be in the place where they can hire me to do it rather than them doing it on their cell phone or something.
Yeah.
So
Creates more. It's more accessible, and then in a sense, the better your service is, the more sales that you get, and the more sales that you get, the more you can pay for your marketing.
Yeah.
In a sense, so it kind of is. It's just the normal standard competition with other businesses in your realm, and I don't know, I guess I'm just saying it's like it creates I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't know how to explain it exactly, but there's just a lot more people involved, and you can start a concept that you are very passionate about, essentially. And whether it's selling a product or a service, start from the bottom and then build up on that. And as you improve upon your product or your service and get more sales, you're essentially able to start improving more and more on your marketing end of things.
Yeah.
Marketing's huge. Obviously,
Yeah, totally.
you know
Yeah.
that.
It's
You
kind of
live
fun
it.
to see like the friends who have been doing a certain type of like artwork and they've been doing it for so long. And we had the same conversation about, oh yeah, these new artists are coming in and like kind of, AI is being a part of it, or even just digital, like any sort of thing,
Yeah.
Like, even with like murals, people use like a lot of projection stuff to like project it on a wall.
Yeah.
As opposed to doing it old way and like scaling it up like by hand. But it's kind of interesting to see like those people with those old skills kind of still shining. You can kind of tell
Yeah.
like the way they speak about the art. Even like talking to you guys about like exposure and stuff. Like
Yep.
me, I'd be like, take the photo. Oh, that looks terrible. Let's adjust that really quick. Boom, another one.
Yep.
Yeah.
As opposed to like somebody like seeing it and like being in a certain situation and just kind of like, oh, this is what I need to do is like make this happen. That's definitely the artistry that I like hearing people talk about. It's kind of cool. And I think that's something to be proud of. I think, of course, there's always going to be like evolution and technology and kind of getting in the way of like, people like jumping in when, kind of jumping too far ahead, you think sometimes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the real artists out there are still out there and they're making good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, they'll always shine through too.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
a
totally.
robot, at least not yet. The soul is gone. It's not there.
Yeah,
You can
no,
see that
yeah.
it's not there, and that's an important part of all art. Like you see a part of the person in it, and that's why people have like work, like your work. It's recognizable. It's recognizable for a reason. There's something behind that. We have artist friends like our studio mate. We see his pieces, it's his. A robot didn't do that. That was an AI. Like that's him, and like it shines through the work. Like very obviously, we have a lot of friends like that exactly who took that because their personality is a part of that.
Yeah.
I think it's a mix of probably three things. Your intent. So you basically need to understand what it is that you're talking about, and then your ability to communicate that and translate that into a physical form. And then your third would be your technical ability to do that. So it's like you can't play a piano piece without understanding music. You can't just sit down at a piano and then just start playing and understand it. I mean, maybe there's a few people out there that can. But for the most part, you have to like understand how things work. And then you have to also start to build on that and take some time. But just like anything else, creativity is a little bit more complex than it seems. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we all just keep chugging along.
Keep on keeping on.
I'm just gonna pretend that the robots don't exist.
Yeah,
it's a little scary. I mean, I'm wondering where the whole thing with AI, especially when it comes to photography and art, where that goes when it starts cannibalizing off of itself. Because right now it's cannibalizing off of humans' work. But there's going to become so much AI out there that it starts going off of AI work. So what's that look like?
Yeah, totally.
we'll be content farmed, like
Yeah.
Batteries.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like it's going to become, because right now you don't see the soul, but I feel like it's actually going to become even more detached from people because it's going to be just AI working off AI.
That'd be
working off
interesting
AI.
to see what society's like then.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, I mean, part of life is like experiences and like the art of just living. You know what I mean? At that point, then what are we doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The robots are going to take over, and then they're going to force us to make creative things for it.
I thought the
Oh my
robots were
God.
supposed to
That's
take
fucking
over like
terrifying.
our
Sorry.
crappy jobs, not our like creative jobs. It was supposed to be like the other way around.
Yeah,
Where like they gave us time so we could go and like, make love and make art. And like
Yeah.
now it's the freaking other way.
No.
It went completely the other way.
Yeah.
Like, how did
Yeah.
that happen? Like, man, that's just
so lovey.
yeah, seriously.
But yeah, thank you, Danny, for being on.
Yeah, I
really
appreciate
you
it.
being on.
Danny's first podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah, my first podcast.
yeah, it's pretty solid.
Debut.
Yeah. Yeah.
My radio voice.
There
Radio
you go.
voice.
All good. Where can people find you if they're looking for you?
Oh, at home nowadays. But don't come there.
Yeah.
Social media is always someplace you can find me. I'm still active in the bike community. And then whenever photo rides and beers and camera events come back, and whenever you guys do events, I'll try to be at those as much as I can.
Come through.
But I'm also very busy, which is good.
Always
I can't
good.
say no to work, so I'm in that mode right now, just hustle mode. So
Yeah.
but I think you can probably find me cycling events mostly. Yeah, nowadays. That's kind of how I get out and experience the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good way to do it.
Get on Danny's waiting list.
Yeah,
It was like
yeah.
6 months ago, we were like, Danny, be on our podcast, and then stuff came up for both of us.
That was,
but,
I think that was more on us, probably.
more on us, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And then your Instagram is unheard
Dot
harmony. You used to have a different one, right?
Yeah, it was an under.
It was an underscore. Yeah.
That
Switched
got
over.
hacked,
Oh, boo.
but it's right
no
though.
good.
It's a
Lame.
fresh restart.
There you go.
Yeah.
So unheard.harmony.com and then or not.com. You do have a website.
Oh, I have
right?
a .com too. Yeah.
Oh, it's the same thing.
yeah. Unheardharmony.com.
Oh, nice.
No dot.
No
the
dot.
dot's after the harmony.
The dots
Yeah.
in the Instagram.
Very confusing.
Okay.
Just type it in.
I think people will find
pop
you.
up.
I
Yeah,
feel
it'll
like there's
pop
not
up.
a lot of unheard harmonies.
Put it in the old Google.
No. Yep.
But it'll come up.
Yeah. Well, it was a pleasure having you on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely.
It's interesting perspective you have on things, and it's always fun to chat with another creative in the community.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
appreciate it. Yeah.
We're excited to see how your projects go, and definitely want you to keep us informed. So,
Yeah.
Indeed.
yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I only cursed twice, I think.
Yeah.
It's pretty
you did,
good.
You did good. You
Yeah.
did
And they
good.
were all like whisper. So it doesn't
They
count.
snuck right in.
Yeah.
All good.
That's how it goes. Awesome. Thanks, Danny.
Yep.
Thank you.